Okay, and we are live. Welcome to the Clutch Kick again. I am EG, one of your hosts, and we also have Greg, who's having some audio issues above me. So you might have dropouts.
Yeah, should be all right. We'll see how we go.
And also we have a special guest, Michael from Battlelist, talking about the Driftbit. But first, we'll go through some news. So I think we've got some feedback from somewhere. Anyway,
Michael,
I think
Michael, turn your sound off on your video, mate.
Sorry. There you go.
Okay, so I think Greg's going to talk a little bit about news, which we don't have much of.
Yeah, it was a fairly quiet week in the Australian drift scene as far as I was aware. It looked like the guys from South Australia had a bunch of the SA Drift guys get to go out to the Bend and do a little bit of a tour out there, which looked pretty cool. That everybody seems heavily involved with that project going on. Hopefully they're not too far away from the Drift Stadium being open down there, and hopefully the first event. I'm not sure if until they actually have locked in dates what they'll be doing with that. So that should be interesting. High Tech was announced that, or not even formally announced, that they'll be running alongside what I think is sort of the BAC championship with truck racing, Polter, Cup, and Tin Top. I guess a lot of people were a bit shocked by that news, considering I think they thought it was going to be a standalone 2-day event, and it is now looking like Friday's open practice purely drifting, and then Saturday's a shared event for both top 16 competitions, and yeah, it's sort of being shared throughout the day with trucks and different forms of racing. I guess I'm of the opinion that I'm a bit upset, more so that it seemed like it's been a long time, but ended up being not transparent as to that's what the plan was moving forward. But it makes sense from a financial point of view to sort of share the costs of the series to be doing that. So I guess we'll see what happens this weekend with that. I think you were planning on going down, EG?
Yeah, I was. Oh, no, I still am planning to go down on the Saturday and see how the competition goes. But yeah, I didn't know that the truck racing would be on, which I think would be good. And I thought I've always watched it on SBS, I think it was, or ABC, whichever sort of non-mainstream sort of channel it was on TV, and that was interesting to watch. And they'll probably have a larger crowd than the drifting would, I have a feeling.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's, as I said, from a logistic point of view, it makes total sense what's happened. But I understand people being upset and people making fun of the situation, considering it looks like it was potentially not a long-term plan, but it's been a plan in the works, and 3 days out from the start of what's supposed to be the premier pro drifting series in Australia, and what they want to try and build to be that all of a sudden the Saturday is down on track time and not as pure drift as we all thought it was going to end up being. Track layout we've sort of seen a track map of it. It's the traditional south short circuit. Oh, not, what am I saying, south? Just the traditional Wakefield short circuit. There's not really too many lines you can run through there. It's fairly narrow and not anything too crazy you can do it. We won't really know much until we see or hear from some guys about what the weighting and what the emphasis on some of those clips have been. I guess it'll just be an interesting weekend all around with that series, just to see how it goes down. And we have a guest who's driving that competition coming on next week, so we can grill him on all things from the weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Hopefully he's there tomorrow as well, and then Friday, sorry. and
Friday.
yeah, see if they actually make changes, because from some of the information that they've released already, hopefully they don't have that short run up that is sort of described in their image, but we'll see what happens on
Look,
Saturday.
I really think it looks like they've just drawn it from the traditional start line, so I would imagine it's starting from way further back, because basically you'd have to dump it off the line in second and then just power skid your whole way through that first corner if you actually start line. So I can't see that actually being a thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have too many dramas there. And I guess the only other thing that sort of happened in the world of drift that was hugely significant was round 2 of FD. I know EG watched it and absolutely loved the track layout. It's his favourite one that he's ever seen in his life. Any comments on that one, EG?
That's a crap track. It's a horrible course. No.
Yeah.
Wasn't very good.
Well, yeah, and it was funny because James Dean drove really well and ended up having another mechanical failure in the finals, lost power steering and punted the wall, which put him out.
Yeah.
It was also interesting to watch that track, considering it seems fairly short, but it looks like it just puts tyres through a cheese grater, because I saw on Instagram just before one of the drivers I follow from over there put up a post, and he's like 2 laps of Orlando speedboard track, and he was down to canvas. It wasn't just past the tread, it was down to the canvas. And looking at some of the runs that some of the guys were having, guys like James Dean would smoke out their lead run, and then by the end of their chase run be almost half the track back because their car was sitting still. So interesting to see that that's the sort of tyre wear that they were getting on such a sort of small, what you'd think fairly insignificant track, but clearly the track just absolutely loves to rape tyres. So yeah, look, not the most exciting one. Pretty good for tandems, but I don't know, just other than that initial wall ride, there doesn't seem like there's much risk involved and a whole lot of other exciting transitions and dives from chase cars. So I think it ends up just as good as the tandem action is, because they're door to door. It just ends up being, fairly bland and not that exciting. But with Atlanta coming up next, that should sort of liven things up a little bit. And be interesting to see if James Dean has 3 mechanical failures from 3 rounds. That was the reason. Well, that's the reason that he was champion last year. The car was just super consistent. The other guys around him had some issues and some knockouts in some rounds because of mechanicals. And now he's made it deep into the comp both times, top 4, and then lost the car. So yeah, very interesting.
Because I think
that's the way it's gone.
It was his last run, so his chase run, I think it was, wasn't it? That it was a very final run that the power steering failed and he went to the wall. I think the first run he completed out of that battle, and then it looked like he was about to win, and then the power steering failed and he hit the wall, and that was it. It's kind of a disappointing sort of final battle.
Yeah, look, definitely not the ideal way for that to finish. All right, so I think that's about it in the world of drifting. I think G1 GP was on today.
Yes.
And you've got more info on those guys than I do.
Kind of. I know Kevin Flynn from Victoria. He came second. And third place.
Was he driving that white one S14?
I don't know. I don't know if he actually swapped cars or something towards the end, because he did blow a gearbox at some point and they swapped it out for him in 20 minutes. So it's a standard JZX box. They reckon they swapped out in 20 minutes and then got him back out to the track.
20 minutes for a box
swap. Yeah, apparently.
How many bolts went back in it?
I don't know, but judging from the picture,
from the videos that I saw, the final was a white JZX and a orange burgundy sort of coloured one with a white front bar.
No.
I
It was
thought might
a
have been
red.
Josh Robinson's old car without delivery on it. But
It's a red
could be wrong.
JZX. That's Fasto's. He's
it was the same front bar as what he'd run.
Brazilian. Is a Brazilian Japanese guy. So that's his new car, and the other car that I thought, which might be borrowed, is the guy. I think I met him last year. He had a JZX 90, and because the car in the final doesn't look like Kev's normal car, the JZX 100, the black one. So he might have had mechanical issues. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Considering it only finished a few hours ago, there's not a whole lot of information. So
no, they'll be too busy.
Plenty more videos and stuff to come up.
There's a G1 party, so they'll probably be getting drunk at the moment. It's a fun party.
Well, you have to keep us updated from your trip. See if you can go and back up your trophy from the last one.
Okay. Nah. I don't think I could actually afford to enter the comp this year.
Oh, how much is entry, mate?
Well, it's $200 plus any consumables, and I won't have enough tires unless I can score second handies.
Is there prize money to be won?
No.
Far out, so I can't even sponsor you.
No.
And
I won tires.
Maybe the Clutch Kit can sponsor you.
I won tires last time, and
we'll see how we go.
A cool oil catch can from.
Mine's dropping out again.
A shirt and some stickers and a trophy. One of the trophies, the big one. So that was cool. Okay, so I guess besides G1 today, there will be the Ebisu Matsuri, which will be on tomorrow and the next day, which I think Michael has sent a Driftbit to Alexi, and he'll be testing it over there.
Yeah, so Alexi got a unit about a month ago when we sent them out we sent a bunch out to Europe and a couple to America and to Jesse in Japan as well. I think Matsuri will be the first chance he gets to have a play with it. So I think it'll be putting in the beer can and giving it a thrash and see how it goes out there.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got that fixed, because last time I saw it, it was pretty bent at the back. Okay, but anyway,
it did a head gasket, didn't it?
He got that repaired, so he took that to the local workshop at Ebisu and got that fixed, as well as a couple of other things which I can't remember. But I know he got a whole bunch of work done to it, so he could go to the track and just drive the car. And then the first session, he had a bit of a bingle with another guy that thought wouldn't spin. So he gets into that sort of situations occasionally. Okay, so
it's been cool. It's been cool talking to Alexi about Driftbit, because obviously he's part of D1GP out there. So, and they obviously use DOS, and DOS is, it's got its positives and negatives. So, having his perspective on a different style of unit, it's been pretty cool to have. Have his feedback.
Okay, so we've got Michael on about the Driftbit. So tell us, I guess you would probably have a typical spiel about what the Driftbit is, and what your goal with the Driftbit and what you're hoping to achieve getting it out there. So just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I guess, but also while you're doing it, give us a bit of a rundown on who you are, where you started from, and how that transformed into you wanting to create the Driftbit, I guess, too.
Yeah, sure. So Driftbit sort of started, believe it or not, at Ebisu. Me and the current the head developer that's on Driftbit at the moment, we were actually in Japan on a called a Drift Week holiday over there. We were basically probably the worst two drifters in Australia. We went over there to get some seat time, and we thought it was a cool trip. So we went there, we got some cars. We were there actually 2 weeks, which was a pretty cool experience. And the first week we were pretty much there by ourselves. It was actually really cool. It was just me and him. We had the whole place to ourselves. It was really cool. But we really couldn't identify how we were improving, how if we're going quicker into corners, if we're throwing more angle. We were playing around with tandeming, but that was sort of subjective. So there was no real way to see if we were improving or if we weren't improving or if we're doing things correctly. There was no comparison point. There was nothing where we could, see how someone was taking a line or, how our line versus someone else's. There was nothing like that. So that's sort of where the concept was born, where we thought we could possibly build some tech to allow this to happen. We took on the Fitbit terminology, where you could wear a Fitbit and go for a run and see how other people ran, and you can compare. So that was sort of the genesis of the idea. So going back from Japan, learning that we wanted to do something like that, I was a programmer at the time for a big multinational company. I wrote an app to see if I could get some sort of drift telemetry out of the actual phone. The phone didn't have enough adequate quality of sensors to determine drift angle that well. I got it working fundamentally, but it would basically tell you if you were drifting or not. That was it. The quality of the sensors in the phone wouldn't allow us to determine how much angle, or the speed wasn't that great and there was lag. But anyway, so we took that fundamental concept of the app that I wrote for the phone. We built what we thought was an ideal test case for some hardware to put the algorithm that I wrote for the app onto the device. And we ran it. We ran it at Calder Park. We ran it some streets in Killer Park. We actually sent a unit out to Japan to get some data. And from that data we collected, we've improved and revised. And about 2 years later, we're sort of at where Driftbit is at the moment. So it basically started from a shitty app that I wrote on a weekend to, a device that's had hundreds of thousands of dollars built into it, hundreds of thousands of man hours of code and revisions, and it's sort of gone well and beyond our expectations for its quality and what it's been able to achieve, and in terms of its accuracy and its reliability and stuff like that. So we sort of want Driftbit to be used by all drifters as a way to have more fun drifting. We want to be able to drivers to learn and improve and have an experience that they can't have just by driving by the seat of their pants, which they generally do at the moment. So it's a good way to see what other guys are doing, improve, and also that comparison point. You can see where other guys are going. You can use them in a competition sense. We've built in streaming functionality, so data can be streamed from the unit virtually live over the internet. So we've had units such as DCA at Mount Gambier streaming live data to the commentators, and they'll be able to, judges and commentators are able to see cars go around in a live sense. So from that perspective, it can help judging, it can help drivers, and it's just a way to get more hardcore and some real tangible data about how you're driving.
What sort of things does it measure? Like, is it just speed, angle, rate to angle? Is there anything that does differently to something else? Like, there's nothing. The only other product I think of is the DOS system and that drift box that used to exist, which I can never find again.
So DOS is actually based on a drift box. Driftbox does spit out data, and it does similar sort of data catching that we do. But what we do differently, basically, DOS and Driftbox is an enclosed system. It sits in your dash, and that's basically all it does. We put some extra sensors around the car, and that enable us to grab a little bit more inside of what the car is doing at any point. We essentially know what the steering's doing and how it relates to what the car's doing in a 3D space. So from there, we can see steering and where the car is, if it's drifting or if it's turning. We can get some really cool, accurate data, steering angle and whatnot. So yeah, all the metrics that you talked about before, angle, rate to angle, speed into corners, initiation points. So all the metrics that you'd sort of want to see as a drifter, we've put them in. And if they're not in there yet, we're sort of working to put them in now. So one of the really, really cool stuff we're looking at now is having two units side by side and doing proximity, and proximity is actually an interesting challenge, but we're working on that at the moment. So yeah, all the metrics that you're thinking of are there, and some to be put in the future.
So does it actually physically connect to any part of the car, like axles or wheels, any sort of steering wheel? Like, does it actually measure how much you're steering compared to how much angle you have, or anything like that?
So we've gone through about 10 iterations of the device in different aspects of the hardware. at the moment, we do put a sensor on the LCA and on the knuckle. From there, we can derive where the knuckle is in relation to the car. We have worked on versions where we don't use that sensor to determine drift angle, but right now that seems like it's the most elegant way to solve the problem. We have been offered some new and interesting measurement sensor chips from companies that I can't name on a public forum, but they've been offered to us, and that might open up a possibility of removing those sensors from the knuckle to be able to drive drift angle. So where our focus is on the integrity and the quality of the data. We found that other similar products, the quality of the data wasn't what we thought would be good enough for a product to be useful in the sense that we want it to. So if the unit, to get the data that we want out of it, requires to put it on a steering knuckle, that's what we'll do. If we can achieve that without, then we'll do that as well. But foremost, we want the quality of the data to be paramount. That's when we think it's going to get adopted and used by the wider drift community.
And I guess coming off you guys using a sensor that's on the LCA compared to the knuckle, would that be beneficial to keep that? Are you able to tell if, say, use the GPS for angle in relation to the direction of the car in relation to where the wheels are as well? So like, like front slip or anything like that?
Yeah, so using those two sensors, we can detect oversteer and understeer.
Yeah.
But it's not as simple as that. All the sensors are what we call fuse into each other with a technique called software fusion. The GPS does do a little bit of part in helping the algorithm work out where the car is. We found that current GPS is not that accurate in a commercial sense. Like, for instance, a phone's GPS is about 10 meters accurate. The GPS units that are in the Driftbit at the moment are about 2 meters accurate. We dial that down to about half a meter using some interesting mathematical stuff. But GPS isn't at the core of the drift angle calculation. But yeah, so there is some interesting stuff we can do with understeer, which some grip race drivers have expressed some interest in because they want to know that, obviously. But yeah, the steering knuckle sensors are to get some really cool insight of what the car is doing at any point. So it also helps from a judging perspective where you can see a driver, mid corner, and you can see them correct or not correct, which shows the car doing smoother lines in the end.
Okay. So what sort of output do you see as a person that's observing the data? So is this something that's a really nice sort of interface where you kind of see the direction, a replay of the car, or do you see graphs, or do you see what do you actually see?
So obviously, our potential customers are drifters, right? Some of the guys we've been testing with, I don't know, if you showed them a graph, they'd probably go cross-eyed. So that functionality will be put into it at some stage, but that's not our focus. We want to get an experience where you can see a screen, see what's going on. It's easy to interpret, and there's no, stuff that's going to confuse anyone. So right now, the platform that we've built, it's called, at the moment, it's beta.bellis.com if anyone wants to check it out. You can basically log in, see who's driving where, or load a Google map of what the car's doing, or overlay a line of where they've been, and you'll be able to see their line, speed, and angle at any point. So it's relatively easy to interpret. But yeah, if you want to go into the high-level analytical stuff, that functionality it's on its way as well.
Okay. So anyone can log in to see this information. Does that mean the user has the option to make it public, or make it public to some people, or do they have some sort of control over that?
Yeah, it's a question that we get asked a lot about, guys that maybe they've got private tracks and they don't want to share that data, or maybe they're super competitive and they don't want to see don't want other drivers to see how they're driving. Driftbit has the functionality to encode the data that you spit out, so only you could see it, or you could share the data with people that you select, or you could make it public and anyone can see it. So there's benefits of both. If you choose to make all your data public, your data is then collected and it's worked into our algorithm, and we can score you against other people that drive. Of course, if you make it private, we can't. Even the battleless team can't see your data, and yeah, you obviously don't go into our ranking system.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically, if you don't want anyone to see your data, you encode it, and not even the battleless team can see it. Where it's encrypted in a way it's only end-to-end, and only you can see it.
Okay, so you can't really share it to one person, like here's a link or here's an email address. That's not...
Yeah, so I can encrypt it and share it with you each, or
Yeah.
I can encrypt it and only I can see it, or I can make
Okay.
it public. So it's anywhere
Okay.
from a complete closed loop to anyone can see it.
Yep. Cool.
But yeah, that does get asked a lot about the guys that possibly go out to the early nights in
And
the west of Melbourne, or
do street lamp inspections.
Street lamp
Yeah. Inspections.
yeah.
Make sure all the lights are working.
Yeah, so that question does get asked by guys that do that sort of behaviour. Not that we've captured any data on that, or we'll share that data if anyone asks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just wondering if Greg's formulating a question to ask.
Mine keeps dropping in and out a little bit, so I miss bits and pieces still. I'm just keeping log of people's questions, so if it drops too far through the chat, that we don't miss the questions, because I don't want to interrupt, because they're sort of a little bit more structured than we've had on previous episodes. I guess a couple of things while we're on a break. How easy is it to swap between two cars?
It's not super easy at the moment. And install, the best we've done it, and we timed it just for, to be able to share the experience with our users. The best we've done it is 4.5 minutes to put an install in from start to finish, as in the car standing there, 4 minutes later, the car standing there ready to go log data. So the removal of that takes roughly the same. So you could install it, remove it in about 9 minutes, and then put it in another car in 4.5 minutes if you're quick enough. So from one car to another, about 15 odd minutes if you knew what was going on. They're designed so they sort of stay put. The Loom kit as it stands is about $30. So you could put a Loom kit, install it in the car, leave it there, and just swap out the main body of the device. So that might be an option for guys that want to share a unit.
So
it's one of the Canberra boys, so they're all tight asses anyway, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's right. No,
well, it's funny you say that. Like we're trying to working with drifters has been an interesting experience where they'd rather save money for a set of tires and buy a new helmet or buy a harness that's not counterfeit or whatever. But so that's one of the challenges of Driftbit, is to make it so appealing that guys that are quite frugal with their cash are willing to buy it. So we think we're the price that we got it for is at that point.
How many pieces are in a Driftbit set? Like, is it so you've got a main body and a loom? What other things do you need to attach?
So we've designed Driftbit to be modular. In its basic form, that's what you'll get. You'll get the sensor loom and the main body unit, and the fittings to fix that to your car. It does use a phone. It will log data to itself, and then you can communicate at your free will. So you go out for a drive, I think it logs up to 16 hours worth of data, and then download it to your phone whenever you want. Or if you want that live streaming function, your phone has to be on and streaming at that point. So for that, we include a phone mount, so you can pop your phone on your dash and watch it do its thing. It's got a bunch of dials and gauges and stuff if you're interested in watching that and not the road. But yeah, so in its basic form, it's a unit with some mounting stuff in the loom, or you can get the other stuff. As I said, it's modular. You can get a ODB2 input, you can get a CAN input, a CAN output, you can get a Nissan console input, you can get an analog input. So if you're running a carbureted V8, it's got some weird inputs, you can run that analog signal into the unit as well. So we wanted to make it as cheap as possible, so we removed all the bells and whistles from the base unit, so you can get it as cheap as possible, as I said, for frugal drifter friends out there. But if you're, a race team, you can plug it into your ODB2 port and have CAN output and use that and send it to your other data logging equipment. So it's quite functional in the sense that you can scale it up to make it meet whatever your demands are, or whatever you want to use it for.
So you're not as restricted. Another question was, does it really plug into the OBD port? But you're not restricted to just using the OBD port, right?
Yeah. So if you want the extra functionality of logging, your throttle position or your RPM or your water temp, it can do that as well. That is a module that will plug into the main body. The cars that we all know and love, early Nissan models don't have ODB2. They use Nissan Consult, and generally when they have an aftermarket ECU like a Para-C, that port doesn't work at all. So we try to cater for everyone. So it will accept a Nissan Consult as a module. It will accept an analog input as a module as well. So it should cover about 99% of the cars out there, if not all the cars out there, in whatever setup that you got. And that's if you want to log that extra stuff. So a lot of drifters that we talk to not really worried about what RPM they were at a particular corner. Some are, some want that insight. Some people, they're not phased. They just want to have the basics. Was I doing this right? Was I doing this wrong? What can I do to improve it? What's the other guy doing that's doing it better than me, and how can I drive like them? So a lot of drifters that we've come across want that real high level information. What can I do to do it better? What can I do to go faster? What line do I want to take? They're not really too worried about the nitty gritty, RPM and throttle position and all that sort of stuff. But if you are cool, Driftbit will do that, and we'll show it to you in a really awesome experience.
Cool. So the information that you capture, what's the frequency? So is that every 0.1 of a second, or is how often does it capture that information?
So it captures at 100 hertz, which is 100 times a second. We scale that down to send it live, and it sends that at 5 hertz, 5 times a second. But when it transmits over offline, when it sends it to our servers, in a non-live state, it's at 100 hertz. We can scale that up, and we can scale it down depending on what you want, but generally most of the times 100 hertz is generally enough data points for anyone to get a good analytical overview of what's going on.
Okay.
Do you have to be connected, to your servers, or is there a way of being totally disconnected and just having the software on your computer and being totally away from that sort of nature of the device?
Yeah, so the Driftbit will communicate with your mobile device completely offline, off the grid. You can do all the analytical stuff there. It will show you your line and all those cool functions. Obviously, all the online features as, comparing and doing all that other stuff. You need to be connected to the service to do that. But yeah, we'll work independent of our server. So you can be off the grid if you choose.
Yeah. And if you are off grid, but then if you don't decide to be off grid, but to say you're at like somewhere like Raleigh or Mount Gambier, where the reception, depending on your provider, can be really crappy. Like as soon as basically that's found a server, then it pretty much flicks everything up online. Yeah.
So basically, the device will store data on it, so you can drive without your phone for a couple of hours. You can push it to your device, and then when it's on your device, it will show analytical stuff. From there, you can push it to the cloud if you choose. When we went to Ebisu, we didn't have any data. We had to drive up to North Course to get free Wi-Fi to get data there. So we wanted people to be able to use it, go for a drive.
There we
go. Well, it's something that we wanted. We didn't want to drive and, go to Japan and drive and lose all this cool data that we'd be able to, analyze and share later on.
Yeah, I guess that's a huge advantage to being connected to the network. At least it's idiot proof, and you're not going to delete your data. It's going to be already up in the cloud, and you don't have to worry about, the safe storage of it or having a laptop on site. It can just be sent there. Yeah,
so we've not that we've copied our friends at Fitbit. The name is quite similar, but that's a bit of a side joke. But that sort of technology where you capture the data and you don't lose it, and the integrity of the data is really important. And people get really passionate about how they perform, and it would break our hearts, and we didn't want people to have that experience of going for a sick drive and throwing down like a gangster and throwing backies and driving really wild to get into the pits and be like, oh fuck, the data's gone. We didn't. Oh shit! What a disappointment. So we obviously don't want people to have that experience. So we've put in places for that not to happen.
So when are you going to build in camera support for a single camera that can be plugged into the device and be overlaid with it?
Interesting question. We've had that quite a lot actually. We have a prototype of a camera working, but it blew out the cost for the actual unit quite significantly. And testing our audience, we asked the question: do you want to pay X for the unit with a camera, or do you want to pay Y with a camera? And overwhelmingly, it was sort of we would prefer to get it going without, and then if we can add it on later on, then that's what they would like to do. So at this stage, it doesn't have a camera. There is support to add it later on, and it's something that we'll probably visit in a later date. And a lot of other motorsport guys have jumped on board of that, such as drag racing guys, and some interesting conversations have arisen from, watching lights change color, then we can start timers, and, flags dropping, and then we can use that flag drop as a trigger to start timers starting and some other reactions in the car. So we have played around with it. It is cool, but yeah, as I said, it adds a lot to the price. And as I said before, our drifting friends prefer to spend it on tires.
Yeah, I'm more meant from a sort of, I have a GoPro existing. Can we make it communicate with your device? But I know GoPro is not all that happy to actually stream, sort of thing. But yeah.
Well, we actually have spoken to GoPro and Sony. It's something that we can and possibly will do in the future. A lot of guys want to overlay their data with their phone capturing video or the GoPro capturing video. And yeah, it's if enough people want it, then yeah, we'll put it in. It's one of the things that it's actually a really cool point because I'm not sure if you're aware, but we're launching our pre-sale in a day. And in that pre-sale, I explained that we've only developed Driftbit to about 90%, and we're leaving the last 10% for input from the wider drift community, such as questions like that. So if we get an overwhelming, response, hey, we want to connect to our GoPro and overlay video, fuck yeah, we'll put it in. But if there's a response, nah, we'd rather put, one of the things I say, we'd rather make it, make the Driftbit fart at you if you're driving bad. Maybe that's something that we put in. So.
Age will want to put a bloody foghorn in my car for every time my hands come away from the wheel.
Yeah, there was talks about putting electric shock devices on seats. If you're driving bad, you get a zap in the ass or something. So yeah, we're opening up that discussion with the wider drift community. Starting tomorrow, about features and functions that you guys or the wider drift community want. So. Yeah, that conversation will start, as of tomorrow. So if anyone out there wants any cool functions for the Driftbit, we're all ears. We're at that stage of the development where the hardware is pretty much wrapped up, but yeah, we can implement cool little stuff like that. If it's wanted, yeah, we want to do it. We want to make Driftbit as good as possible for the drift community. And yeah, if those little, zapping in the ass will get it to be that little bit better, then yeah, we'll put it in.
Have you guys been in touch with Formula Drift at all?
We have. We will be going out to Atlanta in the early month of June. I think it's Atlanta. Yeah. So we're doing a demo with Kevin Wells. Kevin Wells he's a technical director of Formula Drift. We've also been approached by the Team Unicorn guys from Turk's camp. So we'll be most likely running a unit in his car and doing a bit of demonstration for him and the Formula Drift guys at Atlanta in early June, which is pretty cool. We've also been speaking to some guys from D1NZ, and they've also expressed interest in seeing what the technology is capable of. So most likely we'll be getting out to those events. I think Pukekohe is the first one before Atlanta. So yeah, we'll be going to Pukekohe, doing a demo out there. and most likely getting out to Atlanta in early June.
Yeah, because I guess from a business point of view, that is going to be your bread and butter, really. And if it can become a thing through those big competitions, then the rest will sort of follow.
Yeah. So at the moment, there's nothing really that can do what Driftbit's doing for the sport. So these big organisations saying that hey, maybe this is something that might work for us is I think it's a pretty cool indicator that we're possibly on the right track for what the product's about.
Cool. Do you see this as something that will take over judging, or just something that would aid judging?
So one of our I won't say best, but anyway, big influence on Driftbit has been our close friend Luke Fink. I'm not sure if he's watching or not, but yeah, Luke Fink's advised us a lot what he thinks it should be and what he thinks it would be good for his particular competition. And Driftbit was never approached as a way to remove the judging aspect from drifting. It was more of an aid to help judges make better decisions and more timely decisions. One of the questions that gets asked a lot was, will the data from the unit help me make a better decision in determining if this guy was better than that guy? And yes, that's essentially what it can do at its core. So having the ability to live stream the data and capture it and replay it at your free will, with guys like Luke have said that will help his competition, and therefore help if the competition's integrity in terms of its judging decisions are better, then it's good for his sport. So it's good for his competition, and it also helps stuff like reruns going on and on forever, and those split decisions that you can never figure out. Maybe there's a little piece of data, a little piece of insight that the data shows that happened in the plumes of smoke that you can't see. The data shows that maybe there was a correction that no one saw, or maybe there was a bit of a brake checking that no one saw. So that little insight could really help competitions like DCA.
So are you going to create an interface for judges to be able to see this information better? What sort of information or display, or what sort of thing are they going to see as a judge? Yeah,
so at the moment we envision a screen where two cars will go. The battlers platform will identify the two cars at the start line. It will bring up their data, and when the cars go, it will basically say, this guy did this guy did that, this guy did this guy did that. And we also have started talking about the intelligence of putting in, this guy did this on this particular run, but he did it on that particular run, and he was a little bit faster or he's a little bit slower. So not only is it going to look at what the driver did on that particular run, but it will also look at what that driver did over the course of the event, such as, during practice or during, qualifying or whatnot. So one of the things that Luke likes to talk about, is a guy pushing as hard as he was during qualifying as he was during the battle, and is that an indicator that he's brake checking, or is he trying to not drive to drive, but drive to get a weird advantage? So it's one of the things that he thought would be cool to have that comparison over the whole event, not just the perspective of that one line or that one run.
Yeah, and I guess that issue in itself was one of the big reasons that Formula D for a little while put they had a speed score, was to try and eliminate that. You had to hit sort of a 10 mile an hour window, but then they started to find that was hurting the sport in a lot of ways. But then that sort of went back to a funny way where a few people were doing some questionable things like clutch dipping in funny places to slow the car up, not touching the brakes, so that there was nothing physical to see, but if you heard the car, you knew that the clutch was being pushed in, the wheels are still spinning, but there's not full power going to the ground. But something like this would well and truly show that in that moment in time, oh my god, there's been middle of an acceleration zone, a 3-4 kilometer an hour drop. It becomes obvious at that point. Handbrake pulls and things like that are pretty obvious to see, but things like a clutch tip can be really hard to spot.
Yeah, well, it just removes all ambiguity out of what the driver's doing. Data generally doesn't lie. It's pretty foolproof, and its ability to be transparent. So if a driver, slows down, or they're not throwing as much angle, or if they're, in a if they're in a different particular part of the track, we can see that. Like, the data's there, and you get lost in it. Sometimes the engines are revving really loud, and there's smoke, and the runs, they go for, we've captured some runs that go for 20 seconds. It's a lot of visual information to take in all at once, and for it to not be captured in any sense. Video obviously does help, but it's so quick, and there's a lot of smoke, and there's a lot happening in that short time. Where if you can get a better insight, then helping judges make better decisions is better for the sport.
So you were saying that when a person uploads their data onto the server, they'll receive a score, I think it was.
Yeah, so it's one of the things that we're playing with at the moment. Again, it's up to we've invested some time. We think it's going to be cool, but again, it's going to be up to the community to see if it's good, or if they want it or not, if we should invest more time. But yeah, we want to have a platform where I could go for a drive at Calder Park, and a week later, you could go for a drive at Calder Park, and it compares us, it ranks us.
Okay.
We've put in a rough scoring algorithm where it judges a corner and gives you a point. It can compare that corner to another corner, a different track, and it can say that I'm a good driver in Victoria and you're a good driver in wherever you are, or maybe you're competing overseas. And yeah, it's fundamentally working, but yeah, it has the ability to rank drivers from where they are and across the world.
So you could rank someone from like Sydney, a track in Sydney, and then rank someone, and then compare it to someone in Melbourne. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So at a high level, that's basically what we want to do.
Okay.
And if we get enough support, we do want to have 2 months of a competition where anyone can have a drift bit. They go out for a drive. Your data's logged, and for that 2 months, it's on. You'll compete against the world, and we've already spoken to some suppliers, whatnot. We're going to give out tires and entries to drift events and whatnot. So it's going to be a 2-month open competition of anyone that's got a drift bit driving around the world. So at a high level, if that's what people want out there, then we'll make it happen. So we think it's a cool idea, and that's sort of the level that we wanted to get to. And I think it'll be fucking awesome. Who doesn't want to challenge, everyone in the whole world, right? And you can do it from the comfort of your local track. So,
is that part of the business? Just like more of a marketing push for that side of it. Like at the end of the day, it will never be a true comparison, right? It's it's just human nature to want to be competitive without being directly competitive, I guess.
Yeah,
or
so there's going to be,
is that just something you guys have thought of as a way to reach a wider audience for, even your non-competitive guys to be able to jump in and, hey, like, first weighing in directly from the other side of the planet?
Yeah, well, the discussion, and it goes a bit deeper, like how is one person driving in one particular way in Melbourne better than another person driving a different way in a different track? How do you possibly score that? So that conversation will probably go on for another couple of hours and another couple of weeks and whatnot. So there's a lot of work to do there to get, a benchmark that, everyone will be, a benchmark where people can compete and have a relatively good idea of where they're ranking against other people. So that can probably go on forever. But yeah, we think drifters are relatively not vain, but they're, the drifters like showing off. They like make a lot of noise, smoke, and driving. And me personally, I like the fact that I can drive and I can see myself improve. I want to see myself jump up a list, or if I'm going a bit shit, drop down a list and identify what that was. So the competition aspect wasn't really a marketing strategy. It was more about encouraging drivers to drive better and having a way to benchmark against each other, which I think is fundamentally what we're all about. We want drivers to be able to drive, have fun, and improve, and we want to give them a tool to improve. And how do you measure improvement in drifting? Yeah, you can measure how quick you go and how much angle you go, but in a holistic point of view, does I've got a faster speed but lower angle. Is that better or worse? I don't know. So we're trying to build a platform where it will rank you, and you can use that as a benchmark to improve and identify why you're not improving.
Okay.
We're sort of taking out of the CrossFit philosophy. If anyone out there is familiar with the CrossFit World Games, they basically have what they call an open, where everyone from around the world can compete and they get ranked accordingly. So that was taken out of CrossFit's.
Okay.
So,
So here you go.
On the topic of the scoring stuff, so Mitch Sanders has asked, will it score any corner? Like, or does it have to be a programmed corner? So if you're doing street lamp inspections, will you be getting a score off that? Or will it only be, hey, I'm driving, Wakefield Park or Calder Park, so I only get a score from there?
If your data is being uploaded and you're happy for it to be uploaded, then at this stage, you are being scored for that, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, the software is smart enough to know that when the car's in drift and when it's not in drift, and it identifies when you are in drift and when you're going around a corner, it identifies that that's a corner, and it builds. We call it a model. It builds a model around that particular corner, speed, angle, whatnot for that corner, and it scores accordingly. So theoretically, you could do some inspecting one night and hit the same corner and see how you're improving over the course of that day or that night or morning, and seeing how you're going better or worse driving in that particular corner.
I hope you guys have some pretty fat disclaimers in place for your product.
If you head to the Battler site right now, in the footer it says, "Please at all times obey your local laws." So, but yeah, the disclaimers are going up. But yeah, Tracy Grimshaw, if you're watching, give me a call before any of this goes out. But yeah, we've identified that the current affair might give us a call. Hope one day, I don't know, but there is potential for guys taking the technology out and not using the technology to break laws, but breaking laws and the technologies and part in the car while they're doing that. But we obviously discourage anyone doing illegal stuff with any technology, not just ours.
So you actually
freedom of just the freedom of data stuff, I guess. While ever that stuff's online, I guess people should be careful of when they're actually streaming and uploading what they're doing, just knowing that that could be an omission of.
He's dropped out again. He'll be back.
I imagine you said omission of guilt, but yeah. So that's obviously why we wanted. The official reason why we wanted people to encrypt their data was to abstract it from other people seeing how you're driving, because people don't want to maybe. But yeah, so that functionality was built in there for possibly those reasons.
How? So say you do scoring and you don't have it publicly, and D1 has also a system as well, but they have a sort of adjustment for weather conditions. So how much it's raining. Is that something that's also considered with?
So we call that scaling. It's again something that we've looked at. Driftbit has the ability to get relatively close to identifying the horsepower of your car. And using GPS, we sort of know where the car is, and we can check out the local weather conditions. So we do know if the car's in a wet environment or not. And we also know if the car's approximate horsepower. So we've actually worked out into the scoring algorithm that it scales your car accordingly. So, Daniel Shoulders in his, 120 kilowatt, Mang spec 180 can compete with a guy with, 1,000 horsepower, and the algorithm will scale those cars so they're on a level playing field, and weighting them according to the weather will also play an impact on that scoring as well, which I think is pretty fucking cool, right? So someone in a non spec fucking Corolla can compete against a guy with an unlimited budget, which is cool. I think anyway.
Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, there is some really cool smarts built into it. Like, we know using the GPS location, we can see where the car is, and we hit a Google API and pull the weather out for that particular area. With relatively good certainty, we'll know if the car's in a wet environment or not. And then, on the runs, you'll see, there'll be a droplet to identify that the system's picked up that it's wet, and maybe that's a reason why you're going particularly slow or why your transitions are a bit lazy. So that does, we've implemented cool stuff like that in the technology.
Cool.
And is that on that piece of data, like that where you were and the time and the date, or is that sort of left out?
At this stage, that's on the platform. We use it for timing as well. So we say that you started your drift at time X and you finished it at time Y, and your drift went for 10 minutes, or your session went for 10 minutes, and it was at this location, it was in this environment. Well, it's just another way to help drivers get an understanding of what they're doing and the conditions that they were driving in.
Okay. So this system, it just plugs into like a cigarette lighter or something, or some auxiliary. Does it run its own batteries, or how does it?
Yeah, so it takes 5 volts. You can get that from a cigarette lighter. You can get it from, you can supply a power pack to it. It'll run off that. We've had power packs power the units for a couple of days, but there is also an official batterless battery that you can plug into it and recharge it and whatnot. So we've left the pairing of the device quite open, so we didn't want to lock it down with a proprietary cable where you had to buy the cable and the cable was really expensive. No, fuck that. It's a standard micro USB cable that accepts standard micro USB power. If you want to power it off your cigarette lighter, cool. If you want to power it off a battery, cool. Do whatever. We have had the reason why the battery is not built into the unit is because that we found modern lithium batteries do start to fail at around 50, 60 degrees. And on some dashes, we've had some really hot weather, and on the dashes it got up to 70 degrees. So that's an instant battery killer. So the reason why the battery's not in there, because the battery lasts at one event and essentially would kill the device. So we've made the battery or the powering of the device, relatively easy and straightforward, where micro USB, power it, happy days, good to go.
And everything's wired off that main unit. There's nothing wireless or anything like that.
So at the moment, it's got a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chip built in. That's how it communicates with the phone.
Yep.
But if you plug it into your ODB2 port, it will power off that.
Okay.
If you plug it off your Nissan console port, it will power off that. So you don't need a battery. We can also step down 12 volts from the ECU and power it off that if we want as well. So it's super flexible. We wanted to make it as easy and non-cunty way to power it up. So we didn't want to be iPhoney where you needed a special cable and no. It's just micro USB, 5 volts, good to go.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I know when on one of the episodes of Maximum Driftcast, and that's why I asked about the FD stuff, they had spoken about the fact that I think it was the Kevin Wells episode just before the season started. They were looking at, the different companies doing different things like what you guys are doing. And there was talk that RacePack had started looking at doing something. Do you know if that's something they're still looking at, or is this potentially something that you guys have sort of jumped in with them for?
So the RacePack unit that they've got, from the best of my knowledge, and obviously this stuff is pretty early days of what they're doing, it doesn't do angle, it does speed really accurately. And when that was introduced to them, and don't quote me on any of this, I'm not 100% sure, I'm going off hearsay, but it was around the time Formula Drift was having issues with brake checking and people dipping speeds and whatnot, and that's how that conversation started with RacePack. So RacePack doesn't do drift or angle data, and that's sort of where our strength is, where we can do that drift data, angle data really accurately. So that's main comparison difference between the two units. RacePack's obviously been around for forever. Their units are really cool and they do really, really good stuff. But to the best of my knowledge, they're not doing any accurate angle data, which is possibly why they've shown an interest in us.
Yeah, okay. I just know when they brought it up, I found it interesting that Racepack would dip into that market. Like I have a full GPS logger set up in my car, but I just happen to have the setup in the car when I bought it, but I can't see the average drifter anywhere really on the planet going and buying a full Racepack setup for their car, where something like the Driftbit is going to be a whole lot more realistic for your average Joe.
Yeah, the last time I checked, the Racepack Dash was over the $1,500 mark. Like they're great units. What they do is excellent and they're robust and all that sort of shit. But yeah, they don't. From my knowledge, they're not doing any good angle data. Thank God they're not doing it, because they'll probably blow us away. But we're doing it. We're sort of first in. We're doing it awesomely, so that's great. But yeah, Racepack, it's a different sort of product. They're sort of tailoring in at the super high end. We're sort of tailoring at average drifter Joe out there that's having fun in his drift car on the weekend, not the $1 million race teams that can afford $1,000 dashes at a whim.
So when you guys started looking at making the product, did you sort of do some rough maths on how many drifters are on the planet and what your average take up might end up being and what your investment was actually worth?
Yeah, of course. Well, initially to get going, we spoke to a bit of investment teams. So we got investment early on, and part of that disclosure process and part of that due diligence process was to identify the market, what we could or what we couldn't do. So if there was only 5 drifters out there that were potentially going to buy our product, it's obviously not a viable business. So we did do some research out there, and unfortunately, there's no real hard data on how many drifters are out there. Obviously, it's not as big as the drag racing or the circuit racing guys. We did a lot of exploration around Australia and New Zealand. We had some contacts, such as we spoke to the guys within Vic Drift and said, how many guys are going to your events and how many people on your mailing list. We spoke to the guys in Sydney and asked around. So we spoke to basically all the governing bodies in Australia. We got a sort of a number around there. And then we did that in New Zealand. In America, we sort of took a best guess. In Japan, we sort of took a best guess. And that's sort of roughly approximately how we base our numbers. It's been quite interesting, though, since running our ad marketing campaign. The reach of some of our content's gone well and truly beyond what we thought the market or what the populace of drifters would allow. So potentially a lot bigger than what we're expecting, but proof is in the pudding. We're not too sure yet. We're guessing in Australia, for instance, there's about 10,000 people with drift cars, but that could be highly optimistic or it could be, lowballing it. We're not sure, but the numbers are sort of playing between the 5 and 10K drifters in Australia, if that means anything.
Yeah. Looking at that video, you've got 38,000 views on that one that's come up recently, and you guys don't have, it's not a huge amount of reach because a lot of people don't understand what it is just yet, and I guess that's going to be part of the process for you guys is education. But
so
I guess we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, like another video got 80,000 views, and I actually made a video early on in the piece with an S13 with LED headlights. I'm not sure if you guys caught that, but that was about a year and a half ago. That was more of a gimmick just to get Facebook likes, and I'm a bit of a tech nerd and I'm a programmer, and I thought it would be a cool idea. So I put these LED headlights in this S13. I did a burnout, and I thought it'd be cool content. Anyway, I uploaded it. Yeah, 3 million views later, it was a thing. So yeah, it's who knows? I'll let you guys know in about a month after the pre-launch how we're going. But yeah, we'll see.
Did you ever see that video, EG?
I don't know. You have to link to me.
You couldn't have missed it. No,
really?
It took me a second to register because then you gave away those headlights, right?
Hang on.
Yeah. We they were a prototype. I actually only made one pair, just as I said, as a bit of a gimmick, just to get Facebook likes. And
is it on YouTube?
It should be, yeah. If you go to the Battlelist page, it should be there. It's only got like 200 or 300 views on Facebook, but yeah, it got a fuckload on Facebook. It got picked up by some big Facebook pages like Shred Effects picked it up, and some other, maybe it was like Top Gear or someone like that. They picked it up. But anyway, yeah, a couple million
Car
views.
Throttle's pretty massive.
Car Throttle, yeah. Those guys, those Car Throttle's British, I believe. But
yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that
Yeah.
one went nuts.
Yeah, I thought, fuck, it was pretty cool. It was an S13 doing a burnout with some weird headlights. I didn't think it would get 3 million views, but yeah, 3 million views later.
Did you have them programmed so you could literally put anything through those LEDs?
Yeah, well, yeah, I wrote the software that drove those headlights. I could put whatever on. So to get Alexi's attention, I put a video of Alexi on there. I put the Nyan Cat on there. I actually put them in Daniel Shoulder's car at a Big Drift event, and it said "I love Chunga" on there. But yeah, whatever I want. It was super time consuming to program them and to do those animations, but yeah, it was had a lot of impact. It was pretty cool.
Oh, so it's once this is up and running and mass produced the Fitbit, the Driftbit, you're not gonna to go back in and start doing mass produced headlights that people can program anything through them.
I could have sold 10,000 of those fuckers like that weekend. Like there was
100%. You know how many hot boys would want those things?
Oh man, but it was quite convenient that an S13 has these perfectly square rectangular headlights, right? So it was actually these 2 rectangular panels at each corner. So there was 4 of these LED panels, and it was absolute magic that they fit in perfectly and they sat like where the lights would be. But any other car would be a fucking nightmare. Like I don't know, maybe like a 180, maybe a 180 with a square headlight would work. But yeah, S13 was just coincidence that they work so well. So, but I had guys like, oh hey, can you put this in my Corolla, or can you put these in my Can you put these in my Eldorado? And fuck man, you put all sorts of fucking good press, but yeah, just coincidentally, yeah, they worked. The LED panels that I had in them worked perfectly on S13. I don't think they'd work on much else. But yeah, I went to bed. I uploaded it. I remember I uploaded it at like 9 o'clock. Brushed my teeth or whatever. Went to bed. In the morning, I looked at my phone. I thought like there was an emergency going on because I had notifications on my ass, and yeah, I was like, "Fuck!" Shred Effects picked it up. Oh shit! It just blew up. But yeah, so.
So you really should have done that after you had done the drift bit. Yeah,
well, look, I thought. Well, the end game for me was always Driftbit, right? I thought that was the coolest. Driftbit's going to be the fucking coolest thing since sliced bread. The headlight thing was just a gimmick to get Facebook likes, and it was pretty cool. We went from like, 1,000 Facebook likes for the Battleless page to like 5,000 like that. It was awesome. So it took me it probably cost me about $500 worth of parts. Probably took me about a week in programming, and yeah, it was just for the attention as well. That was pretty cool. But yeah, it's sort of indicative of what we're about. We're sort of drift nerd tech guys that sort of just hack stuff together and make it work. And you give us half an hour alone with a computer and a little piece of sensor kit, and we can do some magic with it. Like not only just me, the team behind us, we got some really incredible guys that like, fuck, you throw them the most weirdest shit, and they'll program it, and it'll blink and it'll flash, and we'll be measuring stuff you never thought was possible. And yeah, sort of out that's sort of how Driftbit sort of became to be. We're programmers and hardware hackers at heart, and we're like, fuck it, let's try and build something that does this. Let's try and build this and build some new cool tech. It's not out there. People probably want it. Fuck it, let's build it and give it a go. Yeah.
So are you on this full time?
Yeah, I've been on Driftbit full time, about 18 months.
Yeah.
There's another two. There's another guy, our lead programmer. His name is Jeremy. He's my business partner. Has been along the journey ever since the start. But we've had the team at its biggest was about 15 contractors and other employers. And coming and going. So the team we've grown and shrunk as required. So we're sort of gearing up to kick it in the arse when the production drift bits go out. So the team is we are actually looking for more guys, and that's happening soon. So yeah, full time, about 2 years.
So, how is the ramen noodle diet that you've been on for 18 months then?
Oh, look, I'll be pretty honest. I've got a pretty caring wife that's been, holding my broke ass up. She's been super supportive. We actually got married not too long ago, so she sort of stuck with me anyway. But yeah, it's been tough, like, not working full time. It's been tough, but fuck it. We think it's going to be cool. I think it's worth a punt. The rest of the team, we think it's worth a punt. And yeah, we got, the encouragement from the community has been awesome. So that sort of keeps us going.
Yeah, I'm just going to be really interested to see what the take up is like. It's something I thought about getting. I've got the logging stuff sort of in my car.
You're thinking about it?
Just wait, mate.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
And it's sort of you realize more and more as you drive and you start to progress that really having that visual and that sort of slap in the face for some of it is what people need to take it to that next level. And it's it's definitely something that will end up in my car to go alongside all my data.
Look.
Yeah, just got to save some money.
Athletes have been using sports in tech for 20 years. They've been measuring their heart rate to improve their their longevity and their training, and sports science is not a new thing. It's now we're moving it and graduating it into drifting where it's should be. We need it. We want it, right?
So, do you have a mobile app as well for this, or is it just like an internet interface at the moment?
No, if I can, I'll bring it up. So this is the mobile app. I'm logged in as Mitch Doyle at the moment. I'm not sure if he's watching, but well, I use Mitch all the time because he had really ridiculous lock in his car and his wife's car.
Yeah, he does.
So he's sort of the poster boy when I show people the app. I'm like, look how much lock he has, and look what he was doing. But yeah, there's a mobile app at the moment. It's on Android, but yeah, it's ready to be ported into iPhone at the moment. So we built in a technology. It's called I can't remember now. Anyway, the developer built in technology where we can put it on both relatively easy. So right now Android, but iOS coming really, really soon.
And so it's something that you could probably look at as you say do a run on a practice day, and you can compare yourself to another driver that also has a device in their car. Is that right?
Yeah. So the latest video, if you guys caught it, there's a scene where we do look at compares people. That's actually Justin, who's last year's Victory winner.
Justin Gruner. Yep.
Yeah, that's his run versus. Anyways, Justin. Alex. What is his surname? It's got a $132. But anyway, that's two dudes, different runs at the same place. So yeah, you can compare to someone else. You can add to yourself, obviously.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Yeah. So like, say if I do a run and then Greg does a run, not like at a different time, but the same place on the same day, but just like say we're a couple of cars apart, then we could compare our runs to each other. And then is it easy enough to see on the app? Like, can we just select this profile against this profile and just keep checking it every lap, or is it something that we need to pull in and sort of have a click through it or something like that?
At the moment, you select two drivers and you select which runs you want to compare. I want to select this run of this driver against this run of this driver, and it brings them up and it overlays them.
Okay.
But yeah, if there's a way to make that interface a little bit more efficient, then yeah, all is.
Okay.
Will you guys build a database based on around the tracks that are a majority being used with it? So like, say, because you've got like the track overlays, right? Is that up to a driver to create that track overlay, or are you guys creating those track overlays?
They're dynamic. So when enough people drives a track, it grabs a location that says, cool, this is a track. It's not. We try to remove as much admin from the user as possible. Yeah. So when enough people drive a track, and we can identify where a start and a finish point is. So if a track's in a closed loop, it's a track. and the software will identify that and mark it as a tracker. So we didn't think drivers were going to sit there and go, this is Calder Park and it's at fucking this street and that street. But we try to make the software as smart as possible and do it itself.
Yeah. And that's just overlaying coming off like Google Maps, Google Satellite.
Yeah, so we pull as much API from Google as we can, and off user data where, guys, as I said before, the Battlers platform will identify where a corner is, and if enough people drive a corner, the platform will say, well, fuck, this must be a corner that a lot of people drive. This is a series of corners in a complete circuit. That must be a track. And it grabs its location, its area, and it says, this is a fucking track in Weber. Sorry. Yeah.
At any point, will you make it so the street lamp inspections will actually be shareable privately? Something like that, like either unlisted, like YouTube does.
I know the question that you're asking. I'll leave that as a maybe, but
okay.
I'll leave that as it's a may or may not be there, may or may not be something that we put in. We'll call it.
See what happens. Okay. All right. And do you see this expanding to other things other than drifting as well, like as in circuit, grip, time attack, hill climb, Motorcana even?
Yeah, we've had a lot of different. We've actually had drift bits in go-karts and boats and weird shit like that. The technology is actually, because it's high frequency data logging, relatively good GPS, and we're doing some awesome mathematical stuff to bring the location data really accurately. It's equivalent system to like $1,000, race dash in terms of the data quality that it's grabbing. So for a go-kart guy, it's grabbing the similar data to one of their dashes that costs about $1,000. So, we're putting it out there initially for the pre-sale $399 for less than half the price of getting the same sort of data. So, those guys have expressed interest in it. I spoke to you recently in conversation about putting the camera in. The drag racing guys have said, hey, if that camera can see a light turn green and do stuff with our car, then that's something that we want as well. So, at its core, that the technology can lend itself to other motorsport style. We really want to nail drifting because that's our bread and butter. We love drifting and we're drifters, and that's what we're about. We want to make sure that it's ticks drifting off first, and then if there's a possibility of going down that route, we'll go down drag and grip and stuff.
Okay.
Have you got worldwide patents on stuff that you've done, or Australian patents or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a interesting space because we're constantly iterating the hardware and it changes often. So we really, really, really got to commit to our final solution before we start applying. We've applied for some minor stuff that we think is going to be end its way in the final product, in the final software stack that we're building. But at the moment, we've put some little bits and pieces in, but not in a holistic sense. Yeah.
Yeah, more talking like worried that Race Pack will buy one and pull it to pieces, and then be like, oh yeah, cool. Let's just we're a bigger company, we can do this, or somebody else deciding to just do something like that, just looking after you guys.
So in terms of hardware-wise, we're not doing anything, like we're not inventing a new sensor, or we're not inventing a chip, or we're not inventing anything. Most of the intelligence is coming from the software, and that's got like 4 years of dev work in it. I'm not saying it's not possible to get where we are, but the software is the real driver of the innovation that we've built. So like the sensors that we're putting in the devices, you can, if you look hard enough and you pull the devices apart and you etch off serial numbers and stuff, you can probably find them. But the really cool, intricate stuff is all in the software, and that's where we've put most of our time and effort in. And I think that'll be pretty hard for anyone to catch up at this point.
And can you patent that software?
You can, but as soon as you patent it, you essentially
You're
have
stuck with that exact thing. Yeah.
Well, and you need to tell the world how it works. So as soon as if we go down that route, we have to say this is our patent, this is how it works, and you can't use it. So like someone from a country where the patent laws aren't as strong, they could grab that, put it in their own unit, and do whatever. So it's not
22.
Yeah, so you got to tell the word how it works, and then they might copy it and just their patent. They might not enforce their patent laws where they are. But yeah, so right now we're pretty confident that the technology and the software is not untouchable, but I think we're 3 or 4 years close to anyone else at the moment.
So with users uploading their information, do they need to sign up and pay a subscription to have the information stored, or is that going to be free?
So at the moment, you buy a Driftbit, you get access to the portal for unlimited access for 2 years.
Yep.
After that, it's going to be really, really low, like $5 a year fee, just so we can retain all your data and we can keep it safe and obviously not let other people access it and do all those fun stuff. So it's you get it free for 2 years, and then it's we actually haven't even figured out the costs of how much it's going to be, but it's going to be under the $10-20 range for the year, if that.
Okay.
But maybe that encourages you to go out and buy the next version of Driftbit.
Yeah, that's
with the
going
camera.
That's what was going to be my second question was, do you see this first release as something that will receive firmware upgrades, or will you actually need to buy a new version, say in like 2 or 3 years' time?
Good question. We had that. It's been part of our technology stack that we can upgrade them continually, and we'll do that. We'll support the devices for as long as they've got a useful life. The core stack in the device shouldn't change much, but the app will be a constantly evolving, ongoing thing where 1 week it does this, and we've, the community said, hey, let's put this in, and we've put it in. So the app and everything that you'll touch and play with will be constantly evolving and forever improving. We want to give our users a continually awesome experience. So we don't want it to be a device that you buy it, you put in your car, use it once, oh, yeah, that was cool, see you later. No, fuck that. We buy it, put in your car, drive, new features come out, and we want it to be a thing that, it's a product that you use for the lifetime of, hopefully, your drifting life, which would be, until you can only steer the wheel and your hips are broken from kicking too many clutches.
Okay. How long do you think how long do you reckon, or do you think this product life to be at the moment?
So we engineered them to motorsport spec. All the plugs, all the soldering, all the joins, all that shit is to motorsport spec.
Yep.
Essentially, they're built to the same quality that your ECU in your car is built, and they have a useful life to about 15 years.
Yep.
That's the current iteration, and that's what we're sort of aiming towards.
Okay.
Realistically, they'll probably have a lifespan of about 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Depending how you treat it. So if it's in a dusty, hot dash that you're banging your head against every time you get into the car, they'll probably live a little bit longer, live a little bit less than someone that, is in a colder climate, that they, treat it with care. Just with any other electronic device, I guess.
Cool. Did you have a question, Greg?
No, I just keep dropping in and out, so I lose. I'm going to have to go back and watch the whole thing all over again so that I actually hear everything, because, I don't know what I got to do on the computer. Maybe I can sit down to
just so you guys know, I'm on 3% battery on my computer. I've sent my brother to go find my charger, so if it drops out, I'll be as quickly as possible to join. But 3%, I'll be, hopefully it's survives.
And that's right. Then EG will be on his own when my camera drops out for the.
Should be fine. Okay. Well, I think we'll just see if anyone else has any more questions. I had a question about.
I got power, so we can chat all night.
I guess. I guess considering you've got a modular formula, and that you've said you've got multiple sensors around the car. For a competition as strict as, say, Formula D,
yep,
would you be able to inbuild more like proximity sensors that linked to sensors along clipping points where drivers have to have them in set places in cars and things like that?
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we are discussing with guys like Formula Drift and DCA, and we're trying to identify exactly what they want out of the system. Is proximity and is their tyre going over a particular point in line? Is that important? Is that something that they want? Yeah. So yeah, you are 100% correct. We've built it in a way that we can add that stuff in as required. So as you said, we have sensor loom at the moment, and it is in particular points in the car. A version that we've worked with has multiples of those sensors everywhere in case one fails. So on the left side of the car and the right side of the car, just redundancy. So we've worked with redundant systems like that before, where obviously we don't want a drift competition to stop, so they can hop swap out a sensor loom because someone's had a knock and knocked out a sensor. So yeah, we've worked with redundancies and done advanced models of the system where it should last the lifetime of in vigorous competition and not fail and not stop streaming good solid data.
Well, I know FD has basically said that they will never move, or at this stage they have no interest in moving away from the human judging. They want the complement of an electronic system exactly like yours to, in those situations where they can't make a call or the qualifying runs are getting so high quality that they can go to a little bit more data and be like, hey, that we're going to split some hairs here, and this guy was half a kilometer faster on average through this course.
Yeah, so from the initial conversation, that's the impression that I got from those guys. That's the impression that I'm getting from all the bigger end competitions. From my personal perspective, I don't think the human element of judging should be removed at all. I think that's part of the sport. As mentioned, yeah, the competition's getting so tight now. Like if you look at the last round of Formula Drift, there was like 10 drivers above 98. So the car performance is such at the top end that it's really getting hard to split them. So yeah, having that little bit of extra insight is going to help this decision-making process get a little bit better. But we have had other guys say, like a Motorcana style events, have come up to us and said, fuck yeah, we want to remove the judging element completely. We want to have this in the car and we don't want to judge at all. We want guys to go drive and a live scoreboard, and we don't want to touch the driving, the scoring at all. So there's two sides to that coin where, yeah, the higher end guys sort of don't want to remove that human element, but some of the other guys, yeah, they want to remove it completely and get it to judge all the way. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's versatile. Depending how the impressions that we get, we'll hopefully we can cater to everyone and make the system, work for everyone.
Yeah, and I guess until you have a deadly accurate GPS, can never really truly be no human, judging at all, because even Japan uses a human judge to say whether or not a car kept all its wheels on a track.
Yeah, so one of the interesting bit of an exclusive for you guys, we're working with a technology partner where we're able to get the location of the car accurate to 5 centimeters, and we should know the car. We should know the car roughly within 5 centimeter accuracy in a 3D space. So we will know if your bumper is touching the wall, or we will know if your tire is where it is. So that level of accuracy is within scope of the project. So, yeah, watch this space. It can happen.
So I guess in saying that, then, so Google Maps isn't going to tell me, hey, FD's at Irwindale this weekend. That's a wall. All it's going to do is grab the fact that, hey, like I'm going to overlay over the top of this image. Long term for you guys, would you build, as part of your business model, be building tracks into that technology for them to be able to use that?
Yeah, so using that super precise location data, we could essentially plot a course of a track, the inside and the outside of a track. We could digitally swap in or point in clipping points. Yeah, it's all in the realm of possibility. We could even not use Google Map as a visual reference either.
Yeah, and so that GPS also has altitude too, I'm guessing. So I could go back and watch my run at some stage if you guys decide to release it in a 3D model.
Yeah, I don't want to divulge too much, but yeah, we've had cars driving around virtual streets in 3D that from data that we've captured. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a very rudimental state.
Yeah.
The technology is capable of producing that sort of output. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It sort of turns your real life car driving into a bit of a computer game, which I think is pretty fun. But
it's cool. Like I don't know, like how like you. I'm sure I can keep throwing questions at you, and it seems like everything has been gone over. Like not. I'm sure there may be something, but I think it would be the most insignificant thing that you've probably missed. But I don't know if you have.
Well, it's been Driftbit and drifting technology sort of been my world for at least 2 years full time. So yeah, we sort of over a couple of beers, me and the boys will after a Friday after burning our fingertips soldering together circuit boards all week, we'll sort of sit around and have beers and be like, it'd be cool. I reckon we'll be able to do this. Or I reckon we'll be able to do that. Oh, fuck, I put the beers down. Let's give it a crack. Let's see if we can do it. And that's happened more often than not, where we've just had these crazy ideas, packed it together, and with some relatively success. 9 times out of 10, we'll be able to get shit working, over a couple of beers, or, maybe we'll leave it till Monday, whatever. But yeah, we're sort of agile in that sense where if we get an idea, we can sort of act upon it and see if we can get everything working. It's pretty cool. But but as I said, we do want to we want to have that conversation, such as this with all the other drifters out there. You got an idea? Yeah, cool. You want to see your car in 3D space? Yeah, you want to see it? In a Forza game and see your actual driving. Cool. Let's have that conversation. Whatever ideas you got, let's hear them. Like we can if they're good enough and a lot of people want them, and it's not going to bankrupt us trying to do it. Yeah, we'll see if we can put it in. We want to do cool stuff like that. And, we're, as I said, at our peak, we're a team of 15, but, we want to open up. There's, possibly 10,000 drifters in Australia alone. Imagine the cool ideas we can get from that body of community. How
soon do you think your proximity with other cars sorted out?
It sort of depends if we get requests for it. Proximity is actually a really technical question, or it's a technical challenge, sorry. Drift angle by itself, to determine that's actually really, really complicated. But proximity is also super complicated. So as you've got 2 cars side by side, right, and they're perpendicular, that distance between them is static. But if one's pointed at an angle, where do you take the reading from? Do you take it from the closest point, the furthest away point? Now put that in a racing or a drifting situation where they're twitching around all the, constantly. Where do you take that reading from? And one slows down. It's really interesting question, and it's really complicated to work out. So, again, it's something that we've played around with. But yeah, if we get enough interest in that space, then that's time and money that we'll invest over there. And as I said, if we get these super accurate location data chipsets, it's something that it opens up that to happen.
So you would probably just be able to overlay the data of each car, and you wouldn't need to know the proximity. You could just have that accurate data, the size of the car, and then sort of you just use maths to figure out the rest.
So you identify where the unit is, and you overlay the outline of the car over where it should be, and then you rinse and repeat for every car that's on the track at that point, probably 2, given a battle. And then you'll just identify the outside of the perimeter of the car where they are in relation to each other. That's probably about as far as we've come right now.
Okay.
So we have, we've measured out an S13. We know where the unit is in the dash, and we know that the front corner is approximately 1.8 meters away, and we've done stuff like that, and we've had them next to each other, and we've tried to identify how far. We've had drones in the sky, and we've overlaid video data, and we've done cool stuff like that to try and identify if we're on the right track or not. But yeah, technology is capable of that. But yeah, it requires further time and effort. So let's just say if any of you boys have got a couple of $1 million in your pocket and you think that's something that we should put in,
that's just Greg. Greg's a rich person here, out of me and him.
Yeah, so like basically anything is possible with enough cash, but we want to identify what's going to be the best for the product and the community with the resources that are available to us. And so using the community, we want to identify that and get the best stuff out for the community that we can put out.
Yeah, I get Jake from Team Red State just said, could you do something like parking sensors on certain points of both cars? But again, that would come down to a governing body enforcing that on drivers or something like that. So that's really, I guess, out of your hands more so until one like, an FD or a D1 NZ goes, hey guys, can you do this for us? We're going to give you this money and then we're going to force it upon our drivers or something, if that was the technology that, you guys chose to use, I guess. Yeah,
we've actually experimented with parking sensors, but we found the super accurate location data was a bit better. The sensors, once they got knocked, they weren't happy to repeat their data, and drift cars get knocked a lot, so there was a reliability issue with the parking sensor aspect of that approach. So it was, again, we want to have reliable and consistent data, and if a sensor dies and that car can't spit out reliable data anymore, and worst case scenario, the competition has to stop, so someone has to swap out a fucking sensor. How shit's that? So reliability in the unit is sort of one of the core things that we're trying to achieve. And yeah, having that data within the car, it's relatively safe. The car can get knocked around and it doesn't really impact it too much. That said, I don't know if Jake Jones is watching, but we had a unit in his car and he hit the front straight at Winton, and yeah, that unit did die, but relatively they are quite robust within the car. So yeah, that parking sensor stuff, it's a good idea, whoever said that, but been there, it wasn't so good in reality.
And I can't think of anywhere on my S14 that would be safe to have a sensor that isn't fiberglass or something crappy that would potentially come flying off the car at some stage. So I'm not sure where I would even mount sensors for it to work. Really.
Yeah, and you'd probably have to we put them in all corners, and we put some magnet mounts to the doors. So roughly each four corners of the car and each four corners of the car and each four planes of the car. So the front, rear bumpers and the two doors. And yeah, they just got knocked around and broke and didn't want to spit out data. And yeah, and essentially the sensors actually have to be exposed for them to read, proximity. So not that good. I think they use a similar setup in Mad Mike's comp, but I'm not sure. I think they actually had them built into the course.
Yeah, I think it was in the course.
Yeah, and to line a course with proximity sensors, it'd be super fucking expensive. It's especially like a big open track. You'd have to put barriers and stuff everywhere. Just it wouldn't be feasible. So yeah, proximity sensors, cool idea. Whoever mentioned that, but yeah, in reality, that don't work that well.
Okay, how easily is it to get replacement the modules for the Battlelist? Like, say you did crash a corner in and you've completely lost a knuckle and whatever and everything else on there. Is it easy enough to get?
Yeah, so we obviously don't want drifters to buy a unit and then not be able to get a fucking sensor kit when they smash their car. So yeah, it will be as simple as going to our website. We've actually lined up a bunch of distributors, so stock is relatively good in a lot of major cities. Call up your distributor, get one, or go to the website and we'll post one out as soon as possible. And yeah, we want to make them, affordable. So yeah, you can smash your car and go get one and plug it all in. Okay. But that said, like that Jake Jones accident, he actually hit and broke his steering rack. The sensor kit on that knuckle survived. the sensor kit on the loom on the LCA survived, but the shock from the dash broke the unit on the dash. So I'm not saying that they're more robust than the dash units, but they can take a bit of a beating. They're solid, and the chipset is actually embedded in a bunch of resin, so they're relatively good. The only failures that we've had is when actual wires have been cut from essentially bad installation, where the installer didn't give the units the wires enough travel in the loom, and that severed the wires, and that broke the connection. That's what caused them to fail. But if you're handy with a soldering iron, you probably could have patched that yourself. But yeah. Battlelist.com, when it's available, buy a sensor kit. Even have one in your toolkit if you want. They'll be cheap enough where you can buy it, stuff it back in, off you go.
There you go.
Is there a accelerometer or like anything like that in the unit itself to measure G or shock load or anything like that?
Interesting question. There's, in a simple answer, there's those and a whole lot more.
Yeah. Okay. So if, for example, it was a course that was running a wall, and you guys could measure potentially how hard a person's actually hit a wall.
If you're asking if we've measured an accident, yes, we have. From a nerdy perspective, the data was pretty cool. But yeah, we have the ability to measure shock and stuff like that.
Yeah. So with somewhere with an outside clip, you could or use it to tell if that's, if it's been a graze or if it's been like a proper impact on a wall, but that somebody's driven through the course still.
That's actually really cool. We haven't thought of that yet. I'll get my little notepad out and write that out. We've actually so the way that the software works is I mentioned it before, the sensors fuse all their data into basically one bulk stream, and we extract what we need out of that. So we don't really read each signal's output. It is logged, but it's not been a focus to read, what an accelerometer does. But yeah, that's something that I could do. There was talk about identifying. So we've recorded a crash. We've recorded the data from actually a couple of crashes, and the data. We've modeled that data, and we can identify if a car has essentially been in a crash, and we can alert people that car has been in an accident. So, for instance, if we envision, you having a profile, and your profile has friends on the Battlelist platform. If you're in an accident, and we've identified that your car's in an accident, maybe it sets out a notification to your friend saying, "Holy fuck, EG's been in an accident. Go see if he's okay." But yeah, that accelerometer data it can be used for cool stuff like that. So we could see that. I think the location data will probably show that somewhat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that could be useful. But yeah.
So the initial price tomorrow, the pre-release is $3.99 or $4.99.
$3.99.
Yep.
So it's. When that goes to retail, there will be more than that. But for the pre-launch, so essentially all the guys that have supported us to this point, we wanted to help out and say, well, we've had good ideas from everyone, and we've had heaps of, encouraging talk, heaps of encouraging support from everyone. So yeah, initial release will be 20% off. That will start tomorrow quietly. If you head to the Battlelist website, there is a spot where you can put your email in and jump on that.
Otherwise, I just did it.
I expect you to buy one now, so if you don't buy one, I'll be really upset.
I just sent the email through, mate. I want it before Tassie. I want it before Tasmania. Get it to me.
Sure. So yeah, the initial one's $3.99. When they go out, they'll be $4.99. But for our friends in America, the conversion means they'll be $2.99, which works out to be a nice little round number. So yeah, we obviously, as I said early on in the piece, that we wanted to get the best technology that we could in the hands of drifters that we thought they would pay the price for it. There was no point making it super fucking awesome and charging $4,000 for it because no one would buy it. So, $3.99, $4.99 was the price that we think that drifters would be happy to fork over to get this awesome tech.
And it's not any difference between this release and the retail release. There's no difference in the product.
No.
Okay.
The pre-release will. There's. Another exclusive, the pre-release, the one that opens tomorrow, there's going to be some extra incentive. We'll be able to do custom colors, and we're also going to open up the conversation to put in some exclusive features just for the pre-release. So, like if you sign up for the pre-release, your profile within the Butters platform will possibly get some interesting features that the other guys can't. So there's incentive to do that. And we're going to do some. We've spoken to our manufacturers here and offshore that we possibly can do some custom colors. So if you've got a Panda Spec 180, you can get a Panda Spec Driftbit, or if you've got a pink and purple Essodine that you send at walls in Japan, you might be able to get a pink and purple Driftbit. So which will that offering will only be for the pre-sale stuff.
Okay, so I could get 2 looms and sensors and just have 1 Driftbit for 2 cars. Is that right?
Yep.
And then
so
just unplug it and plug it in.
You could. Yep. So in theory, you could have just one loom and one unit for 2 cars, but you'd have to do the uninstall and install each time. But 2 looms, just plug it in, off you go. Yeah. The mount to the windscreen, we're using this semi-dense silicon. It's sort of like it's sort of like chewing gum, but it's clear, but it's reusable, and we use that to mount to the windscreen. You probably want to get 2 of them.
Okay.
But it's reusable, and so they're pretty cool, and they're rigid, and they last forever. So probably want to get 2 of them, 2 looms, and bang it away. And if you're really cool, Age, you could probably just buy 2 units and get 2 different colors. Maybe buy 3 and give one to the missus, and
I don't have.
Maybe buy 4 and give one to your friend.
I'm pretty cheap. I still run on secondhand tires. Yeah, I don't have friends either. Just like Greg, no friends.
But he actually, what he's asking is, he has 55 cars parked outside his house, so he wants 55 looms and 1 Driftbit.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can.
I have probably 3 or 4 drift cars, and that's it here. But you'd buy a couple of looms and then buy 1 unit. There was talk about locking a particular unit, so a user couldn't share a unit, but I don't think we're going to put that in. People want to share them, go share them. I think they're cheap enough where people are going to share them, and they're $3.99. Cool, man, go share them. But I think share it between friends, you mean?
Yeah, like if you're in the pits and your friend wants to go for a drive and he's already got a loom in his car, man, go share it. That's all right.
Okay.
We have one was in a car that got stolen. The person that stole the car obviously doesn't have an account to log in, but it opened up an interesting conversation about, could we lock a device to not work if it was stolen or misplaced? Could we track it? Yeah, if it came online and into our network, we could track it. So, we could probably recover a stolen Driftbit if it gets stolen and used.
So if you could use it as a tracker, the only thing it's missing is an internet connection. So could you actually get a SIM? Could you make a module that has a SIM card in it and turn it into a tracker?
Yes,
I want that.
Yeah, so
I would love that for my car, purely from an insurance point of view, to know that if the car gets taken, that the inbuilt battery and a SIM card connection, within an hour or a couple of hours, I could have my car back, or at least know where it was cut and stripped.
Yeah, so we there is a 3G/4G module that we're working on. So basically, the Driftbits, the inputs and the modules are broken into 2 bits: inputs, outputs. Outputs is such as CAN or a serial output. There is a 3G/4G output module that we're working on. So it's basically you put a SIM card in, plug it into the device, and it will spit out your data. It could double as a GPS tracking device. It will require power all the time. So if you want to, risk draining your battery all the time powering this unit, it runs. I can't remember how much amp it runs. It's relatively low power, not doing much. But we had this conversation with some people, and it was like, is it a drift tracker? Is it a car tracker? Is it, can I put it in a truck and can you track my logistics? The technology can, and it can do it, obviously really accurately, but I don't know if that's a way we want to go yet. Maybe, I don't know if enough guys out there say, yeah, cool, I'll buy the 4G module if I can, know where my car is all the time. Then yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, a 4G module by itself is quite expensive to the old 3G stuff now. Well, not 3G. Sorry, what was GSM? So GSM was pretty cheap. I think it was $80 for the module, and it'll send the tracking information to you. You just have a SIM card in it. But I think the 4G one, the cheapest one's like $200 at the moment.
Yeah, so we don't use it's essentially a 4G radio, and they're, from a component perspective, they're pretty cheap. Our suppliers that supply some of the other componentry for the units actually have a unit that you don't even need to put a SIM card in. There's a portal where you can log in and it will give you a phone number and have a connection and all that sort of shit. It's like an ongoing monthly service that you pay just like a normal phone, but no SIM card. We can get them, and that brings down the cost because, we don't need the little port where you plug in the SIM card and shit. So yeah, they're probably going to be about $80-ish, but depending. So
but I guess you could add that into your subscription fee then, I guess, right? Like I could, have you guys as my secure sort of, hey, the car's gone missing, get in contact with you guys, or I'm just paying a subscription, you've already got me my phone number, all that sort of stuff, and then, that, just exists in my thing, and you can upcharge or upsell or whatever to, as part of also, keeping the business alive.
Yeah, so battleless drifting and car security.
Hey, money's money.
Yeah, money. Yeah, if it helps, Joe Blow getting his car back, and that's a positive experience, and we can help with that, then yeah, sure, that's something we can do. But yeah, as I said, we're focusing on the drifting stuff. But if it's
for sure.
Yeah, if it's got, if it's easily portable to, find your car, if you've got that thing on it, and it's, I call up one of the admin guys, hey, where was the last known location of this device? Can you look it up for us? And I'm sure we'll easily be able to cater that.
Cool.
Warranty.
Yeah, so because it's a motorsport product, the definition of a warranty within this domain is quite interesting. But obviously we don't want guys to buy one and it breaks and, oh yeah, it's a motorsport device, there's no warranty. No, it will all be defined and in the fine print in the pre-sale tomorrow. But yeah, we want to support it. And as I said, we've tried to develop them to have a life in the environment that they're going to live in. They're going to be in race cars, they're going to be on hot dashes and lots of weird vibrations and all that sort of stuff. So they've been engineered to have a life like that. I think I'll have to double check if you want to quote me tomorrow. I think it's 18 months to 36 months warranty. I think I'll have to double check with the stat on that one. But yeah, around there. We don't want them in your car. They're in an environment that they should be in and they break and it doesn't work anymore. We don't want you to have that experience. We want you to have a good experience. So as I said, yeah, we've engineered them to live in the environment they have. And yeah, unless you mistreat them, they should be all right. And there's some interesting, we've got some really cool sensors in them. So we'll know if the car's sort of been in an accident. We'll know if it's been kicked, or we'll know if it's got wet, or we'll know that sort of stuff. So as a side bonus here, we can sort of see what kind of life that the units have lived, which is actually really interesting.
Cool. How long is the pre-sale for?
30 days. 30 days. So there's a finite window to get in and be part of it. We didn't want it to go forever because we want there to be some incentive for some guys to jump in and be part of that, initial group. That's, our heroes that have jumped on and supported us early. We wanted that to be a finite window, and then from there, yeah, we're going to push and get the production ones out. So, yeah, hopefully there's enough support on this initial stage, 30 days, and hopefully everyone thinks it's a cool product. Yeah, jump on and show us your love, and we'll show it back, and together we can do some cool stuff. And yeah, ideate and get the technology to be cool, do some cool stuff.
And what's your turnaround time from pre-sale to people having the device in their hand?
Depending on what users want, we've developed it to about 90%. The last 10% of dev should take about a month, and then it's straight into production. And we've already geared up our supply chain for that, so they know what to expect. And that process takes up to 3 to 6 months. So essentially, the sooner that you jump on the campaign, that's the order in which we're going to start delivering devices. So if you jump on a day one, if you're user number one to sign up and get the device, you'll be user number one to get the device at the door. So it's sort of going to stagnated in that sense. So anywhere between 3 to 6 months. I don't want to make any promises that people will get them next week. It's going to be 3 to 6 months, give or take. But in that sense, if you want to get hands on the Driftbit experience, we do have some beta units that have come back from testing in relatively interesting shapes. So we've refurbed them, and if people want to have the Driftbit experience straight away, we can get them out to users that want that experience right now.
Are you heading out to any other events to do any more experiences with them?
As I said, D1, hopefully Pukekohe, still talking to that, guys. It's not locked in yet, but we've had that dialogue open. That's their last round for the year. So we really want to get out there and show what it's all about. So we're definitely going to do that. Well, yeah, if they'll let us, we'll come out. D1, from the Drift, we're most likely going to get out there. And sort of we do it ad hoc if there's an opportunity to do a demo, or if there's an interesting car that we haven't been in before that we want to get some data on, we do that. If there's a celeb in town, we like to rub shoulders with them and see get their impressions. If there's a cool guest driver that comes out that could lend their experience and their take on the product and help it, we sort of jump on those when they can. I think the DCA Tassie might be something that we're probably going to jump on. We haven't been down to Tassie yet. We've got some dudes down there that have supported us, and we're obviously big fans of DCA, so that might be the next thing on the cards if we're allowed. And I think there is a bit of a. I'm from Western Melbourne. There's a few boys that I know down there. I think there's going to be a bit of a convoy that's heading down there, so I might jump on that and follow those guys down and see what DCA Tassie is all about. But we'll see.
If you're in Tasmania, I'm more than willing to take one out for a session and see what.
All right.
See how shit my driving actually is.
I'll jump in the car after you as well and see. We'll see the difference.
Yeah, you can tell me. Make sure I've got petrol in the car for that one.
How about this? If we go to DCA Tassie and you drive, I'll put a unit in your car, but on the premise that we put it in 2 other cars and do comparisons of the 3 of you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I just know I'll be the worst one. Yeah,
well, it'd be cool to obviously compare against yourself and, where you took what corner, how you took the corners and stuff. But, yeah, it'd be also, let's benchmark against 2 other drivers. So
I want to see doing it in Greg's car with that stuff in there. Just the difference between me and him.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. That'll be awesome. Should I wire up the shocker to give you a bit of a nudge if you're doing anything bad?
That sounds good. It's dropped out again.
Yeah, I missed all that because I bloody dropped out.
Sorry, Greg.
I'll just have to watch it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't going to do anything weird to your seat or anything like that.
It needs to be in my hands to make me actually close my hands to hold onto the bloody wheel, I think is what EG's more looking for.
Cool.
Okay.
So apart from those 3, it seems like there's almost something every weekend on in the drifting world at the moment within Australia or with Vic or somewhere else. There's always something to consume. So we're drifters. We like getting out to events. I love driving, but as I said, living the startup life, I haven't been able to afford too much driving myself. So hopefully we can get into some cars and do some more hands-on testing other than just watching you guys get around the track soon.
Cool.
So I guess this pre-order run is taking place now, and that'll be your first run of products done, is your long-term plan of having stuff on the shelf going to be based around how well this pre-run goes, or is it going to sort of, you've got an idea on where you think you're going to be and how many you're going to get made in the first run, and then people can buy them off the shelf?
Yeah, so the pre-run it's a bit of a loaded test. We're basically been deving Driftbit to a point where we think it's good enough where a consumer would want it, but we still don't know if the market wants it, right? The last 18 months, 2 years could have been a huge waste of time. The proof will be in the strength of this pre-sale. So if it goes well, we're like, cool, we've got a product on our hands, the community wants it, people will enjoy it, cool. Let's throw everything at it, let's make it cool, let's ramp up the production, let's go all in. If it doesn't go great, well then, maybe it's not a product the community wants or the industry wants, and maybe we need to revise the offering. So we're using the pre-sale as a really good test. We think it's as best as it can be. But yeah, it could, maybe we've got it wrong, maybe we're not. Hopefully, I don't think we've got it wrong. But yeah, we're using it as a test to see that we're on the right track. Community wants it. There's grounds to it. But yeah, there's a chance that we've completely balls it up, and maybe we should have made them more penis shaped, or maybe we should have done some more silly things like that. I don't know. But yeah, the next 30 days is basically a big old test to see if what we think the offering is good, and yeah, if the offering is good, yeah, we're going to run with it, and if not, we're going to revise and maybe see how that plans out. But right now, I think we're on the right track, and yeah, we'll see.
But I guess from what my understanding of the whole device is that you've basically idiot-proofed the hardware as much as you can, and basically it all comes down to how you as a software developer can use that to plot and pump out that data, basically.
Yeah, so in its core, that the physical product is a analog sensor capturing device. That's it. There's a lot of sophistication to it, and there's a lot of intelligence into the actual hardware itself. But in its raw sense, it's just capturing movement. That's it. And the real good stuff is how we translate that data into something that the user is going to play with and see and look and feel and touch and play with. That's where the experience really comes alive. So yeah, the product is, you can think about it as in two distinct groups. It's the actual physical, tangible product you can touch and store in your car, and then the other part of the product is the digital experience that you can have with the data that it puts out.
If this is used in competition, how have you considered if people can tamper with the sensors? So like, I'm not sure how, because I haven't actually seen the device, but if it's just measuring angle, could they actually put some sort of device to make it look like the sensor's getting more angle than it actually is? And
yeah, so a good question. Again, that's come up in conversation. We're pretty confident that we'll be able to detect tampering. The way that the car moves and articulates where the sensors are, we've built a model on how that looks. We've captured So we've built a model on how the car performs in its natural environment. If someone picks up a sensor and rotates it manually, for instance, it will sort of be outside of that model that we've built, and it's it's easy-ish to detect. To manipulate and get a different score out of it, you would have to not install it, trick the system to think it's in the car, and then manipulate it with your hand or some bars or some other means outside of that. I don't think you could probably trick it. If someone can trick it, I'd be completely amazed. But yeah, as I said, it's come up in conversation. We've built a model to try and detect movement outside of the normal realm of what it should be doing. And yeah, good luck to anyone that wants to try, because apart from being inside the wheel well, unscrewing the sensor or unmounting the sensor and moving it and putting it back on its mount where it should be. I actually don't even know. It'd be almost impossible.
I'm sure people will try. There's people that try to do anything and everything, so someone will probably try.
But I guess if somebody actually did try, then and it's outside your parameters, if it became an issue for, say, somebody like Formula Drift was worried about it, you said you've got a model in place. If it was just a flag that sensor is potentially being tampered with, then it would be up to somebody like a Kevin Wells to go and check. And the reality is that data is not pivotal to that run. There's still judges and all that sort of stuff in play. So, you know, Kevin can check the car and be like, hey, and for anybody else who's doing it just to get some wanky big score on the Driftbit site, well, you just know they're a dickhead, basically. Yeah,
and as I said, in the higher end race versions that we're possibly going to produce, there's going to be redundant sensors. So we'll be able to say that either a sensor is being tampered with or it's failed and revert to the other sensor. So if one sensor is manipulated with, then we'll just take the reading from the other one and everything will be fine again. And there'll be alert saying, you know, sensor X there's something going on with it and investigate. But yeah, in that race version, there'll be redundant sensors and yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin to try and tamper and get different scores. I'll put that question to the engineer and let them have a really good debrief about how to try and circumvent it. But outside of the parameters and the models that were set, maybe I'll ask someone outside of the business. Maybe that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll ask an engineer that doesn't know about the product and how it works and get them to try to defeat it. Maybe one of you boys. Yeah, one of you boys.
We could always play with it down in Tassie. just you know, put it in some weird places and see what sort of data it actually pumps out.
Connor's pretty good at playing with stuff, and he will find a way to break it at least anyway.
Oh, I can already show you how to do that. That's the easy thing.
Yeah.
That's jump on it or cut it or set it on fire. Oh yeah, it's electronic. It's an electronic device. You can break it, but yeah, you would have to make it think that the sensors on a steering knuckle doing stuff that a steering knuckle does, vibrations and turning motions and stuff like that, and then somehow twist it in a way that it thinks it's got more steering lock, or twist the other sensor that it thinks the car is rotating in a different way. If anyone wants to try, then yeah, good luck. But yeah, that question has come up before because we're calling the whole experience gamification drifting. If we gamify the experience a little bit, there will be guys that are trying to, you know, get a score. Like there's guys that go and hack, you know, Counter-Strike games to get headshot mods and do stuff like that, you know, just for what? Just for internet fame. So yeah, good luck to anyone who wants to do it. I like to play. Yeah.
Connor's claiming he's already got a way that he thinks he could probably he could try and trick it.
Yeah,
I would think I would have the unit out of the car and just at least have the sensors in it, so you couldn't tamper with the unit itself, and then plug it in. Because the only other way I could think of is you can have the loom set up in a way where the sensors don't actually, the loom doesn't go to the sensors, it goes to somewhere else where it's equivalent. I don't even know what it looks like, so it's hard to say. So yeah. You kind of mimic
what you're thinking of. Yeah, that won't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reality is, in a battle, two cars are going to be going at the same time, and if that data isn't coming in at a relatively the same time as the other guy's data is, like steering input and all that sort of stuff, it's obvious that it's being played with. Like, yeah, you know, you're not going to be able to. Somebody can't sit there and be like, and I'm going to turn it now, and then I'm going to turn it now because that's how the track's being driven.
Yeah, and it comes down to how the scoring or what the judges decide how the algorithm's going to give you a better or worse score. So is it more lock that gives you a better score? And if so, if that's the case, then how do I manipulate the Driftbit system to look like I'm getting more lock? You can either figure out a way to try and, I don't know, manipulate that sensor without it being obvious. But again, you know, breaching that model that we've built, that will be pretty hard. And unless you've got some like mechanical thing that's sitting on your knuckle that's got like no space to do it in, I don't know, it'd be so hard. It'd be impossible. Like I wouldn't even. Yeah, as I said, if anyone wants to give it a crack, yeah, cool. How about this? I'll put up $100 reward if anyone can defeat the algorithm into.
Someone would do it.
$100, $100 and a sub of Victorian bitter. How's that?
But and I guess for if you're going to go that detailed into trying to defeat it, the amount of time it's probably going to take you, you're better off just getting track time and learning to bloody drive better.
Yeah, exactly right.
And then at the moment, it's only you're only seeing it as a tool to assist judging, not as a thing to take over judging entirely.
Yeah. So there'll be if you want to try and muck around with it, there might be a spike in some interesting data that may or may not make a decision go your way. But I'd imagine you'd probably need an engineering degree, electronics degree, vehicle dynamics degree, and maybe a physics degree to even get your head around how everything works to try and defeat it. So, Connor, if you got those, if you pretty comprehensive in those four styles of education, then yeah, give it a crack, my man. Go for it. $100 and a slab could be yours. Slab of delicious Victorian bitter. So go
He
for it.
doesn't drink alcohol, that guy.
Well, the equivalent in non-alcoholic drink.
Give him
It's
some
probably
sugar.
better for everybody.
Give him lots of sugar.
Yeah, I'll give it a couple of cranberry juice out of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so, $100 and a slab of your drink of choice. How about that?
No, he'll pick the most expensive one. You got to be careful with his. He's a smart ass.
I think Connor's also not understood that the unit itself isn't doing all the work. There's sensors in all sorts of places because he said you put it on one of the the vector mounts for the GoPros. Where it rotates and keeps the camera straight as the car rotates. I'm not sure what he's going to do with it from that point, but that's what he's talking about.
We actually played around with one of those, and the vector mount that worked off the wind, but that was no good. We played around with it from an engineering perspective, but it was never a way that we're going to achieve anything.
So Connor's driving a front-wheel drive Prelude. Will the sensor get wrapped around his CVs?
To be honest, we've never had that question come up. I'd imagine so the way we install it, we run where the brake lines go through. So if you install it like everyone else has been installing it, it should be fine. So the lines will run. If your brake lines don't get wrapped around your CVs, then the sensor loom won't get wrapped around your CVs either.
I'm interested in what EG's.
I'm trying to remember.
Now.
No, because I've helped him change the forks around in the front of his car because he installed them backwards and couldn't figure out why it was rubbing. And I'm just trying to remember why.
Does that mean he was like turning left and the car was going right, and it was turning right and the car was going left?
No, I think he wasn't actually turning very much at all or something. I can't remember. He's just making lots of noise.
Okay, but yeah, so obviously the car's brake lines don't impede anything within the wheel well, so we sort of stay to the OEM style of staying out of the shit's way in the wheel well.
Yeah, it gets pretty close because where any of the cars I have knuckles with, I've had to move the brake lines into the next bolt across because they get really close to the wheels.
Yeah, so the sensor that lives on the knuckle is quite stubby. It doesn't really. We've never had one impede a wheel or LCA or anything else.
Okay.
As I said, the only failures we've had is the actual physical loom wasn't given enough tether and it got stretched and broke that way. But
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was sort of it.
I don't know. I feel like we've covered a lot of, I guess, almost. Well, I feel like is pretty comprehensive. Is there anything else that you feel like we've missed out on that we sort of haven't touched on that we could sort of pick your brain about?
To be honest, you've asked me some questions that I never thought I'd get asked. So that's kind of that's kind of cool. The cheating thing, that was cool, and what it can do. And look, I think the biggest takeaway is that we sort of built a platform that has virtually no limitations. Well, virtually has, I'll use a caveat, virtually has no limitations on what we can put into the system. It's just sort of what users out there want it to do that we'll put in. So, you know, we're opening our hands up and spreading our arms wide. If anyone wants to jump in and be part of this crazy project that we're trying to get off the ground, then yeah, we'd love to have you. And you know, I think together we give some technology to drifting that it sort of needs, and you know, it sounds like a lot of people want. So yeah, there's some cool stuff we can do, and there's maybe ways it can get manipulated. Well, possibly get manipulated, but as a standpoint, yeah, we're just trying to do some cool stuff for some drifters that we think that the sport and drift drivers will get a benefit from. So yeah, we're opening up to anyone that wants to be part of it.
Cool. I think Greg's frozen again. He hasn't moved in a little while.
It's either that or he's got a real mean blue steel going on.
Yeah, I know. There you go.
Yeah, or it's just like he should play poker where you can see his face.
Yeah, through Skype.
Yeah, because you'll think he's holding duds, but he's actually like packing some good cards.
Is that me? I just dropped out so long. I missed everything that just happened in the last probably minute and a half.
Yeah, nothing.
I'm lost again.
Nothing obscure was said about you or your facial expressions at all.
Ah, Jesus.
He's gone again.
There he goes.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just have a quick look to see if we have any more questions. R.I.P. Greg.
I closed my browser so my battery would last a little bit longer.
Oh, okay.
But now that I've got a power, it's all good.
No, I think, yeah.
Does the internet get worse as it gets later into the night down in Tassie, or?
I'm not in Tasmania.
Where are you?
I'm in Sydney.
Oh
yeah.
Tasmania
I don't know.
Tasmania has NBN, I think, as well.
Yeah, the live stream that I have on one laptop is perfectly fine. The little laptop is just going apeshit, but it never had a problem until last week. So I don't know. So I didn't hear any of the last one, but yeah, okay. My last question, and it's I don't know if shoot whatever answers you've got for me. What can the wider community do for you and your product to get it out there? Ask, whatever you feel like we can all do for you.
Cool. So support us, from day one from the campaign. Is that me? No, I think that's you. If you're out there and you're a drifter and you would want a Driftbit in your car and you think it's cool, support us. We're using the funds from the pre-sale to finish development of the Driftbit. Obviously, as I said, to make it, more tailored to what the audience wants, and yeah, be part of the project. Contribute, share the stuff that we put out. Spread the word, and yeah, we want to hear your ideas. We want to hear all the crazy stuff that you think that Driftbit should or shouldn't do. Yeah, it's more of a community project than a business project. We want to, as I said, get some cool tech out, and yeah, if you can be part of it, then yeah, we'd love to have you. And yeah, together, let's do some fucking cool drifting tech, nerdy drifting tech stuff.
And then from a social media side of things, is there things like hashtagging Battlist and Driftbit and stuff like that, stuff that will help drive traffic towards your pages and stuff?
Yeah, if you can just share the content that we put out to someone that you think it would be interesting to, or someone that would have some interest in it. Maybe it's a drifter, or maybe that's something that's got an interest in drift. Maybe it's someone that's just bought a car and they want to, get involved with the sport. Share it to them. Let them know about this, this project that's happening and that they can be part of too. exposure's, one of the good things that, you can do for free. You can share stuff for free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then, if you can, jump on the pre-sale, support us financially, and then, we'll use those funds to rock and roll and get the product into your hands. Yeah, you got blue steel again.
God, look at his face.
I know.
God. He doesn't even know. Once he watches the live stream again, he'll see all this stuff. Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to rewatch this whole episode.
Yeah, I think so. Have you finished watching Initial D yet?
Nah.
Have you watched Initial D, Michael?
I've watched my normal share of
season
Initial D. Bits and pieces from the last however long, but
you've watched season 1 at least, haven't you?
It sounds like It sounds like you guys have got an unnatural, love for it, which I don't know if I want to tread in this direction of this conversation. So,
see, he doesn't sound like he's watched all that much of it. So don't bust my balls too hard, mate.
Have you watched season 1?
Have I?
Yeah.
As I said, bits and pieces, but not.
Oh, really? You haven't watched all of it?
I'm not sitting down and binging on it, but maybe I should. Is it that? I think as a founder of a drifting technology company, is that something I should invest some time in? Probably.
As a drifter at all, yeah. I think I said if you actually want to be good at drifting, you need to watch season 1, and that's what Greg's problem is.
Okay.
Yeah, Greg needs a lot of practice.
Yeah, he needs a lot of bandwidth, I think.
He does. Oh, God. Okay. Well, once we get Greg back, I think we'll just call it. Once we get you
now.
Are you back? For how long?
Yeah. Oh fuck! I don't know. And I did manage to fix my car. For anybody who's wondering, after Wakefield the other week, basically the car took 42 liters of fuel when I decided to put more fuel in it. So I'm guessing it just didn't have enough petrol in it. And basically, I'm a dickhead. So keep your car filled up. So that's why I haven't watched Initial D, because I'm not even smart enough to keep petrol in my bloody drift car.
Yeah.
I actually had that problem the other week where I put a 1J in IS200, and for some reason the gauge decided to read a quarter of a tank out. So I thought I still had a quarter of a tank, but I didn't, and I found that out on the side of a fucking freeway. I've been swearing too much. Sorry. I found that out on the side of a freeway going to my mother-in-law's place. So yeah. Always put more fuel in your car if you're doing a 1J conversion on IS200.
Never trust your gauges. I think that's what I'd say, because I put it in RV25 in my 32 and then took it for a drive. I looked at the temp gauge. It didn't really register much at all. I thought, yeah, cool. The radio is working really well tonight because it's cold. But really, the engine's cooking and ended up melting a piston. So don't trust the gauges.
Mine doesn't even have a gauge.
That's just a 25-year-old Nissan thing, right? I just don't think you should trust any analog equipment from a 25-year-old car that's, had an interesting life.
But yeah, I think putting the power C in, you can actually see the actual temperature. It's just the gauge was stuffed.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, do we get any more last minute questions?
No. Greg has to continually move just so we know he hasn't fucking.
Okay. All right. Well, once Greg comes back.
Yeah. So look, if I can just say anything to the guys out there.
Yep.
If you think we're doing something cool, if you think you like Driftbit, show us some love. Join our campaign that starts. It starts on Friday, but if you join our mailing list, you can get access to it Thursday late afternoon. We'd love to have you. We really appreciate the love and support so far. everyone part of the journey so far has been really awesome. Greg, you need to get new internet as soon as possible.
Yeah, well, my NBN got pushed back, so we're not loving the NBN at the moment. So,
but yeah, look, thanks everyone. So far, the journey's been really awesome. We're hoping we can do something really cool for the drifting community, and yeah, love your support going forward for our campaign.
Cool.
Yeah, and I guess this has been the most comprehensive sort of, I think, public thing that you guys have really done.
Yeah.
So we had a peak of 25, 26 people. We're down a few more now, but yeah, share this.
I know.
Oh man.
I cut
is
out
there
as
someone
well.
is there someone just like doing this with his like
No, I actually cut out as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was weird.
Someone's like, hey, this is a good bit. Let's pull his internet out.
Yeah, I cut out for a little bit while I was talking as well. So anyway, that's all right.
So the poor 26 people watching just got me bloody talking again.
No, I think they would see nothing because I'm doing the upload. So if I see nothing, then everyone gets nothing. So what we'll do is we'll post up links and things like that on our Facebook page, so you can sign up to the pre-sale. That's it. And that's all they need to do.
Yeah. So if you jump on the Battlelist website, battlelist.com, there's 50 spots you can put your email in. If you do that in the next 12 hours, you'll get access to the pre-release link that goes out on Thursday. If not, we'll release the official stuff Friday afternoon, Australian Standard Time.
I'm signed up.
I can't even see it. Oh, here we go.
I'll see if you... Greg, I don't think yours came through. Come on, mate.
I don't know. I don't even know.
Oh,
you're the techie. You can.
Oh no!
For some reason.
Oh, whoops!
Mine goes
my email address wrong.
Wacky. I don't know what's going on with this bloody computer. You guys are selling merch, doing all that sort of stuff as well to help support, or not at this stage?
Yeah, you can. For $10, you'll get your name forever embedded on our Wall of Fame. It's a page on our website. You can get a T-shirt and some other merch and some stickers and fun stuff like that.
I don't even know if that came through. I'll just try again.
And yeah, so you can support us in. So the minimum is like sharing our content. The second thing would be, getting on the Hall of Fame. Third would be getting some merch, and then obviously we can get some drift bits into your hands. No G-strings or anything weird like that.
No, Greg missed that completely.
Yeah, all I heard was G-strings, and I'm buying one.
It's so weird. Join in. Did I hit G-strings?
That's all I came in for.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess we're doing the same thing. EG's cleaned up our logo and all that, so I'm gonna probably post up soon about doing a run of some potentially some hoodies and stuff. So that'll all be done by pre-purchase. So if you want to jump in and help us with that, and then we can actually get this up onto a podcast website and work out what the hell's wrong with my computer. Do that and support.
Oh man.
Oh, it's painful. It's like this for me every other week if I'm not on my mobile phone. So.
Oh man.
Are you there, Craig?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
If you look in the Clutch Kick community page, Mitch Sanders has just posted a lovely meme. Okay. And basically, thanks for poking fun at me, Mitch. I love you too, mate.
All right.
And Mitch, if you're listening, you're in our You're in our pre-launch video in an interesting way, so keep an eye out for that.
Cool. Okay, so everyone's got to sign up, and that should be it. We'll have Ben for next week. Is that right?
Yeah, supposed to be Ben Meir for next week. He's basically confirmed. Hopefully he survives the weekend down at High Tech and he'll be on. And then, yeah, look, if you are interested in being on, please get in contact with us. Michael got in contact with us and EG didn't reply to him because he's a wanker.
I didn't get the
on,
message.
I
didn't see it at all.
Let's not lie, mate. Just be honest with our guest.
It just gets mixed up in all the other messages then.
That's you guys you need like an assistant or something.
Yeah, I don't think we're big enough yet.
Internet's obviously first and then assistant second.
Yeah. Bye, Greg.
The timing could not be better.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I don't even know it's internet or the computer.
All right. So yeah, we'll just, unless anyone's got anything else they need to add, we'll see everyone next week.
We're pretty much good on the questions. We might grab Michael again at some stage in the next little while once pre-release and all that has happened, and just grab an update on how your numbers and stuff are going, and
we'll love to.
Close to when you decided what your final tech stuff is, and just do a bit of a follow up on that. Even maybe just a catch up in Tassie if you make it down there, and just do a pre-recorded video or something.